Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Green Man channel. I hope you're doing good and well. So, it's time for a new episode of Dark Horse Discs, the series where we talk about albums that are generally underappreciated in bands' discographies. And this time, we are talking about Kiss's 1982 album Creatures of the Night. And of course, we also would like to sort of collectively say rock in peace to Ace Frehley, who recently passed away just a few days ago. Interestingly, though, whilst he is credited as being on this album, he didn't actually play on it, as far as I'm aware. So it's just an interesting tidbit about Creatures of the Night. And this was JC's choice. So JC is going to be kicking us off with the first round. Just to quickly recap the rounds, the first round we give our first impressions. The second round, we name our three favourite songs from the album, and the third round, we say where we'd rank it in the Kiss discography and say why we think it's a dark horse. So, JC is going to kick us off with this choice today.
Okay, well, yeah, I picked this as a dark horse because it's kind of a unique album in their discography. It's kind of a transitional album. So, if you don't know Kiss, they were very big in the 70s with the makeup. They had a lot of albums that were popular, Destroyer, Love Gun, and all of those. And then they released a bunch of solo albums. Then they released an album called Dynasty. I have that one too. I should show it. But and that one they kind of like started changing their sound. They had that disco hit, which is "I Was Made for Loving You," the one that most people know very well. And after that, they released Unmasked, which was another one they kind of went for a more poppy sound or more pop sound. During this time, the two of the members, Ace Frehley and Peter Criss, were kind of in and out of the band, or they were like thinking of leaving. I think by the Unmasked album, Peter Criss was already out, and they had like he was credited, and he didn't really play. I think there was drummer Anton Fig. He played on Unmasked, and the follow-up album is the one that we're talking about today, Creatures of the Night. And the same thing kind of applies to Ace Frehley. He was done with the band. He appeared in, I think, some music videos. He's on the cover, and he didn't play on this album. He actually, when I first bought this, like, this is a newer version. When I bought this when I was a teenager back in the 80s, it had a different album cover with the band without masks. It was, I mean, without the makeup. And it had Bruce Kulick and the other drummer, I believe it's Eric Carr, so the current band at that time. But this is the original cover, which includes Ace Frehley, and that's Eric Carr on drums. It's a heavy metal album, but it didn't really sell well because they were kind of doing some weird stuff. I forgot to mention they had another album called The Elder, which is kind of a weird proggy type of album that also like a lot of people hate, but it, that's a different story there. This is a really it's probably the heaviest album, the closest thing to traditional heavy metal, but it's kind of like a cult classic for Kiss fans. But when it came out at the time, it got mixed reviews. It didn't sell well, and I think people in general didn't like it. I think a lot of people were getting used to their other sound, which was more like that "I Was Made for Loving You" type of sound. So that's why I chose this would be a good one to talk about. And I guess that's all I'll say for now. And then until we get to the next round. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we seem to have lost Hector.
He became the Ace Frehley.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he'll come back. But,
Yeah, hopefully he'll rejoin at some point.
Hopefully.
Rocco,
yeah.
I think you were next anyway.
Yeah, yeah. I have heard a couple of Kiss albums. Obviously, I heard Carnival of Souls for Is It That Bad?
Yeah.
But I haven't heard most of their albums. So I put on Creatures of the Night, and I was pleasantly surprised. I guess after no one liked their attempt at progressive rock with music from The Elder, they just went back to basics, and it worked out pretty well, or at least in terms of like quality. Like as JC mentioned, this album like was not very well received at the time. But I thought it was a really fun album. And Eric Carr, rest in peace, who played drums on the album, said it was his favorite of all the Kiss albums he played on. And I don't have much to say about the album beyond that, so I'll save the rest of my thoughts for the next rounds.
Cool. Yeah, I think I'll go next, hoping that Hector magically reappears
Yeah.
in a few moments. But yeah, so I'm not super familiar with Kiss. Um, I do sort of like I'll listen to them if they're, if they've been on the radio or um, if, I see a new song that's come out or something. But yeah, I mean, I don't think they've released new material in quite a while, actually, come to think of it. Not since 2012, I believe. Um, and this was my first experience with this album when you chose this one, JC, and I thought it sounded pretty solid on first listen. It just sounded like that sort of an era of early 80s, sort of quite heavy rock tunes. Kind of had a style to it. It reminds me a little bit of the style of Whitesnake in that early 80s era as well, just a sort of straight up rock and roll sound. And yeah, I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was, yeah, fairly straight to the point, fairly much within a sort of Kiss formula. But yeah, I quite like the record. I believe this was the last one with Casablanca, wasn't it? Casablanca label. And actually, it was somewhat dedicated to the memory of Neil Bogart.
Neil Bogart, yeah.
Bogart,
The president of the label who I
yeah,
believe he died of cancer during the recording sessions.
yeah. All right. Well, Hector has reappeared.
I'm back. I was like watching, and then all of a sudden, like, frozen. I'm like, what the hell? It's on me. So I'm guessing it's still in round one. So my first impression. So my first impressions. So first of all, I'm a very casual Kiss fan. I was glad that this wasn't a grunge album. Let me tell you that.
Hmm.
This sounded to me like classic Kiss. There's only one song here that I remember. It's "I Love It Loud" because that was a single, and they played that song a lot. But beside that one, I didn't remember any of the other songs. I thought, it's an enjoyable rock and roll album with some like more ballady stuff, and it's straight to the point. It's 39 minutes. I thought, I thought it was enjoyable. I know there's some songs that it's Paul. I think Paul Staley sings some most of the songs. Right, JC?
Yeah. I mean, all of these, if I remember correctly, it's either Paul and Gene. I
Paul
mean,
and Gene.
they were, yeah, because usually Kiss albums they would have like all four sing, but yeah, this is just Paul and Gene on vocals.
Yeah.
Probably about half and half, but I didn't really look it up, but yeah.
There's only one other rock band with a lot of people sing, but they sing better, in my opinion, and that's Def Leppard. But that's another topic. But for me, yeah, it was enjoyable. I never listened to this album. The only track I knew was "I Love It Loud," but yeah, it was a fun rock and roll album, and those are my first impressions.
Thank you, Hector. So that moves us on to our three favorite songs from the record and go back to JC.
Okay. My first pick, opening track, "Creatures of the Night." It just sets the tone for the album. It's just a great song. Just a typical Kiss type of song. It probably could have appeared on any other Kiss album, maybe like a little heavier than a typical Kiss song, but I really like "Creatures of the Night," the first song. My second one, I'm not going to pick "I Love It Loud" because that was a single, but I'm going to pick "I Still Love You," which is the ballad. It was one of the, keep in mind this is 1982, so like power ballads weren't really a big thing at the time. And I think this is a really good example of an early power ballad. I remember when I bought this album back when I was a teenager, that was one of my favorite songs. So this is Paul on vocals. I like that one. And probably my favorite, the last track, War Machine. One of the heaviest songs, really great guitar riff, really memorable. I've actually heard some people say that Stone Temple Pilots kind of like ripped off the song with, I think it's a Sex Type Thing, but that's kind of
Yeah, I can
debatable.
hear that a little bit actually. Now
Yeah.
you say it. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great riff.
But War Machine, um, it ends the album, heavy song, just really great guitar sound in that one. But yeah, so those are my three picks. I probably could have picked more. I probably could have picked any song because I really I think this is a really good album. But those are my three, and I'll let next person go. Yeah.
Rocco's picks next then.
My third favorite was Saint and Sinner. I thought the hook was great on that one.
Yeah.
And then my second favorite was Keep Me Coming, which is maybe, in my opinion, the catchiest song on the whole album.
Yeah.
I could easily imagine this being an Aerosmith song.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely got a bit of an Aerosmith in that.
Yeah.
In
And then my favorite is the one that JC picked, the title track, Creatures of the Night. What a great album opener. You can tell that Eric
Yeah.
Carr was very influenced by John Bonham. The drumming across the whole album is great, but especially on the title track. Great hook too. And yeah, I realize I'm picking the first three songs on the album. I don't know if that's like a basic thing to do, but yeah, those are my three songs.
they're your favorites, they're your favorites. It's just the way it is.
Don't be basic, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going now because I pick also Creature of the Night, but it's a fun song. But did anyone else? I think this song has a lot of like Aussie vibes. I don't know why I got some Bark at the Moon vibes,
I can kind of hear that.
Yeah. Yeah.
and plus they came around like almost in the same year because this is 1982. So I don't know why I'm like this is the best Aussie song that wasn't an Aussie song. Creature of the Night. I think it's a good way to start the album. I picked one that none of you have picked, Killer. She's a killer. Yeah, that was
I like that one. I like that one.
It's like a fun track, upbeat, some good guitar, some good riffing. I'm guessing I thought it was Ace, but he's not on the album. So who played it? I don't know. But it was some, or maybe it was Paul. But it was some good riffing on that. And I didn't pick I Love It Loud because that's the single. And you know what? I think it's probably like one of the weakest tracks on the record.
I
If
agree.
I think about it. Yeah, and it's weird. There's a part where like it buffles and then it comes. And I'm like, what the hell? So I picked. I like Danger. I thought that was a fun song. Danger. So
Danger, danger.
yeah, it had like a fun thing to it. I don't know why. Kind of like a little bit of like Van Halen style to it. So yes, I picked Creature of the Night, Danger, and Killer. Those are my three tracks.
Awesome. Awesome. I think we've had quite a lot of crossover then. I picked Saint and Sinner, which Rocco picked. Just love the kind of rock and roll style. I like Paul Stanley's vocals in this track, actually. I think they sound really strong. Good riffing, really good solo in it as well. Solo caught my attention in that one more than on some of the other songs on the record. So Saint and Sinner is my first pick. My next one is actually Rock and Roll Hell, which I thought was a little like Love It Loud, but the stronger of the two. Like it's just a stronger chorus for me, and slightly more going on in that song. I felt that another kind of 80s rock anthem track, not a huge amount to digest there, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was kind of a crowd pleaser type song, a little bit like the I Love It Loud song. And also War Machine, which JC chose. Did you pick War Machine as well? No, you didn't pick War Machine.
No, I only picked the first three songs.
That's right, you did the first three, yeah. So War Machine was also my third favorite choice on here, and just that doomy kind of riff, actually. Yeah, it's just I can imagine if it was a bit slower and maybe tuned down even a bit lower, it'd be a bit Candlemass like. It's just kind of got a slight doomy edge to it, I think, that song. Yeah, and that one, I think when I first listened to this album the first time, That one really stood out the most to me. So yeah, those are my three picks. So that moves us on to the final round and the third round. Um, and so we go back to JC for why you think it might be a Dark Horse album and where you'd rank it in the Kiss discography. And I think of the four of us, you probably know the discography the best.
Yeah, I've actually done no actually something interesting. A Kiss ranking was actually my first
Oh, okay.
video on my channel when I first decided to do this whole channel. I started out with a Kiss ranking. I remember they had so many albums. I did it in like two parts. But anyway, yeah, I think they have over 20 albums. But let me start with the first part, why it's a dark horse. I think a lot of this I kind of mentioned before anyway. It's an album where their like transitional album that doesn't really fit into any of their specific like periods. That's actually really good because we have the 70s period and then that late 70s, early 80s period where they got like a little more kind of like pop and then they kind of do the weird stuff. And this is one of those albums where they're changing the bands. And then after this is Lick It Up, they took off the makeup and they had their makeup off for pretty much like the next a bunch of albums throughout the entire 80s up to actually the 80s and most of the 90s until the late 90s when they did the reunion. So it's an album that if you ask a Kiss fan, probably most of them would say it's one of their favorites. They probably rank it very high. But when it came out, it didn't really get a lot of attention. I think like people were kind of like didn't know what was going on with Kiss. It's a weird album. I mean, like other than the fact that Ace Frehley didn't play, they had a lot of outside writers. For example, like we didn't mention Bryan Adams, like he co-wrote Rock and Roll Hell,
Yeah.
and yeah, so that's something. And Vinnie Vincent, he was in the band later. He's on, but he played a lot of the guitar, but I think he really wasn't credited. So if you go on their Wikipedia page of this, you're going to see all the different people who played. A lot of them were just session players and all that. So it's kind of like a weird album that probably should have been a bad album. Like this probably like the way if you consider like the state of the band, like this probably would have been a bad album and it would be like an is it that bad type of album, but it's actually a dark horse because it's like one of their best, but it just one of their albums that you probably like given the situation with what was going on with the band, it probably thought it would have like been one of their worst albums. But as for the ranking, definitely I mean they have so many good albums. So for me, I like their early stuff. I mean, the first albums, Kiss, Hotter Than Hell, Dressed to Kill, Destroy, Rock and Roll Over, Love Gun, like those are the core albums from their early period. Those would be ranking high, but that's one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. I mean, but this is definitely the top 10. I would say maybe five or six, because really everything after this, like this is the last good album as far as I'm concerned. Because I don't like any of their stuff from the 80s, like the Animalized, Asylum, Crazy Nights. Like I don't like those at all. And even those like sporadic albums that came out afterwards, like Psycho Circus, Monster, Sonic Boom. I never really I never like listened to them. I was kind of like done with Kiss at that point. But I would say top 10, possibly top five for me. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So pretty high with all their other
Yeah.
albums. That's pretty
Yeah,
high.
definitely.
Yeah. Cool. I think I might have seen a ranking where someone put it in the top 10 for sure, thinking about it. So it's obviously got some popularity, maybe.
Yeah.
Rocco?
Uh, my notes for the final round are much shorter than JC's. I would have to go back and re-listen to Destroyer to know for certain. But of all the Kiss albums I've heard so far, this might be my favorite.
Ooh,
I think it's a dark horse, at least in part because it came after Music from the Elder, which was, I think, is still regarded as one of their worst albums.
is it that bad?
It, I think when,
It's a good contender for Is It That Bad? Music from
yeah,
the Elder.
I remember when we were talking about doing what became, when we were planning the episode for Carnival of Souls, that was one of the albums that JC chose as a Kiss album, but we went with Carnival of Souls.
Yeah. All right.
Uh, but yeah, I enjoyed this album.
Cool. So actually, yeah, it'd be your number one Kiss album.
Yes. But that comes with the disclaimer that I've not heard everything.
Yeah, I will be similar when it comes to me. Hector,
So yeah, this wasn't Carnival of Souls. That one sucked ass.
did you like that one, Rocco? I think you said earlier.
I did enjoy that one more than Hector did. I'll put it that way.
That was an insult to Alice in Chains, my friend. So no. But this sounded to me like Kiss. Where do I rank it in the discography? I don't fucking know because I'm not a Kiss connoisseur. I can say that I enjoyed. I think their '70s stuff like Love Gun. When I listen, like Party All Night, Rock and Roll. That's the Kiss I know, like funk Kiss. And to me, this album it has fun stuff in it. But I'm sorry, JC. I didn't like I Still Love You.
Uh,
I don't know why. I just thought it brought the album a little bit down. But is it a dark horse? Well, I think this is the thing. I don't know. A Kiss should have never taken off their makeup because that's what made them stand out. And then in the
Yeah.
80s, they took off their makeup and they look like everyone else. So they took away the part that made them stand out. And then they were just four ugly ass dudes in a sea of fucking ugly. Like, because let's be straight, a lot of those people from the 80s in the hair metal bands, they were fugly, man. Not everyone looked like Bret Michaels. And Bret Michaels, I have a theory that if you take away the hat, he's bald. And the bandana. He's really bald. But to me, this is a dark horse because obviously it came out after you said an album that I haven't listened to, but apparently it's bad. So we'll cover it next year. And then it came next to Lick It Up when they took it out, and maybe at that time because there were problems and Ace didn't play in the band, maybe a lot of people had like Kiss fatigue at that time, and you had like your Motley Crue's, you had like newer,
Def
hungrier
Leppard.
I love Def Leppard. You had those bands that were like they had a lot of competition. Plus at that time also 19, Michael Jackson, Thriller. You had a lot of like stuff coming out. So maybe by that time there was Kiss fatigue, and also I think there was Kiss fatigue because they did movies, cartoons. It became it to me like when I was younger, I didn't know Kiss was a band. I thought they were a brand because
Kind of
like
like what Snoop Dogg became.
like of course something like that. But as a whole, as I think this is an enjoyable album, and maybe it's because they didn't think about it that much and they just played. So it's a fun album. So yeah, I'm guessing it's a dark horse. How would I rank it? I don't. I'm guessing it goes with their classic albums, the ones from the '70s. My favorite Kiss song is still "Love Gun." Yes. So that's those are my thoughts.
I almost wonder if it's a little bit like their Take a Look in the Mirror in a way, coming to like the end of an era, one of the last kind of more popular records, or not popular, but you know what I mean.
Sure.
It's sort of that transitional phase almost. It's a little bit like that kind of scenario maybe, but yeah, okay. So not really being very knowledgeable of the band, I'm gonna probably say say what JC pretty much said and copy and paste, that it's a bit of an odd one out for them. But I can kind of sense that. I think because, you know, as we said, it's sort of like the last album with them, with their makeup, and you can sort of. I feel like, having listened to Lick It Up, sort of, which was pretty much in preparation for this as well, you can sort of, you know, tell that this is a transitional point. This is where I'm going to confess that I actually love Crazy Nights. Which is seen as their kind of cash grab hair metal album, isn't it? I think, but I get enjoyment out of that album. I do have a bit of an affinity just for that sound, though. It's not necessarily that I think that it's an amazing album. So in terms of ranking, this would probably be, because I only really know 3 albums well enough to rank them. So, you know, Destroyer would be my number 1, then this one, then probably Crazy Nights, with the sort of with the note that I actually do secretly have that album as a guilty pleasure album. I probably should be on a guilty pleasures type of episode if ever there was one. So yeah, I actually like Crazy Nights. So that, I think, brings us to the end of this latest episode of Dark Horse Discs. Hope you guys watching have enjoyed this latest round of the series. And yeah, so next time we are going to be talking about Pat Benatar. And this is going to be Rocco's choice in a couple of weeks' time.
Yes.
So that should be following roughly 2 weeks from now. But before we close things off, we'll just do a quick round of what people have got coming up on the channels before I forget to do that. So we'll start with JC. What have you got coming up? And I always forget you've got 2 channels now, haven't you? So what have you got coming up?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of I do new releases over the weekend. The new Coroner album, the new Biohazard. This is a big weekend for albums, and then the Sabaton album, which I'll probably post this one on Sunday, which I don't know when you're posting this, but that one's going to be on Sunday. And then I usually do this weekly series of the new metal releases. I might not do one this weekend because they were kind of like big names, but otherwise I do it like pretty much every week, where I talk about all the new metal releases. And during the week, I do more like retro reviews. I have been doing anniversaries lately, but sometimes I just kind of just do something I just feel like, or whatever's maybe popular at the time. So I kind of try to keep busy. My second channel is called JC CD and JC Rock CD and Vinyl channel, where I just basically review albums that I have in my collection. I actually did a video on that channel, which kind of made me choose this one for this episode, because I thought it would be a good dark horse. That was like one of my, actually, like after Tom asked me like, well, what one I want to pick, I thought of this one because I actually recorded a video about that. So if you want to like hear more information about the history of Creatures of the Night, you can find that on my second channel. And yeah, that's basically it. But I try to like post frequently. Yeah.
Cool. Rocco, what's coming up on Rock of All Ages?
Yeah, so depending on when this comes out, my video may have already been released. I have a video about the classic Symptoms of a Broken Spirit by Architects. And then a couple of days later about Osmosis by Ozzy Osbourne.
All right. Okay.
Underrated.
Yeah.
An underrated album.
Dark Horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard I've heard it kind of called a dark horse by like some other friends of mine. But yeah, I talk about those 2 albums. And yeah, I have a lot of stuff coming between now and like towards the end of November. Yeah, I'm putting out a lot of stuff for the rest of the year. Keeping myself busy.
Excellent. And Hexer, what's coming up on
So-
the couch?
So this week I've been trying to stand out because, a lot of people can review the same albums, but I thought no one's going to review Puerto Rico band releases, only me. So I'm like, that makes me stand out because so I reviewed recently a few albums from Puerto Rican bands. I reviewed one from Corre Forest, which is a pop punk band from Puerto Rico. I did that one in Spanish because their songs are in Spanish. If you like pop punk, great pop punk band.
Okay.
They're awesome live and pretty cool stuff. I think you like. I think Rocco and would enjoy them. The Corre Forest. And I also
You'd have to send me a link.
yes, I'll send you so you can. They have free. They have like free albums, and I interviewed them when they did the second album, and I also interviewed a band from Puerto Rico that's a crossover thrash metal band called Fulminator. And they're from Puerto Rico, but they're actually aliens that came here, landed in Puerto Rico, and they fight aliens. And they have an album coming out next week, which I will review. And it's called Destroy Tokyo. So it's going to be a fun album, crossover, thrash metal. JC, you will enjoy that one. So I'm going to read that album. I also did a review of another Puerto Rico band called Screwface, which is the world. It's not the world's short. It's it's an EP, but they put it as an album on streaming. So I put 8-minute album, and he's like, it's actually an EP, but they didn't put an EP, so it says album. So we're like, fuck it, EP album, and it's 8 minutes, and they're also crossover thrash. And if you look at the cover for that Screwface album, Shake Weight, it's basically Killers by Iron Maiden, but with Don Ramon from El Chavo del Ocho. Maybe JC knows Don Ramon because
Yeah. I saw I saw the thumbnail. I didn't watch the video. I'll have to check it out. But yeah, I was wondering if it was that character from that show.
yes,
Yeah, I know the show. Yeah.
Yeah, I interviewed them, and since the actor is dead, they could use his likeness without being sued. So yeah, I said like, yeah, I want to review bands from Puerto Rico because I'm guessing I'm the only one who will review them. But I know like in the past, I know that Tom reviewed Moths.
Yeah.
So they also had an album this year. And also this weekend, if Papa Rico Suave was back to review Caracangre. And there's a new Is It That Bad episode that I did with Rocco and Pirate for Coheed and Cambria, which
That's
is
just gone up, hasn't it? Yeah, I just saw that before we started. Yeah.
So that one's up right now, and yeah, that's what's coming up on the couch.
Can we get Papa Rico Suave to make an appearance for the Pop Queens episodes? I think that could be quite entertaining.
I will give him a call. That would be interesting.
I thought it might be appropriate for Papa don't preach, effectively. Oh dear, that was a bad joke. Right. So what's coming up on the Green Man? We have got. I've just actually put up a review of an album which I thought was really great, which was An Abstract Illusion. And I also noticed Metal Meltdown reviewed that one and thought it was really good as well. He gave it like a 9 out of 10 or a 4.5. I think his scores are done out of 5, aren't they? And he thought it was great too. So I'm not the only one. That is an awesome record.
I want to listen to that one.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
Yeah, I listened to that one too. I liked it a lot. I never heard of that band before, but after like listening to it once, I thought it was really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I really like it. It's kind of everything up my street. It's got synth, it's got progressive metal, it's got it's just got everything that I love pretty much kind of wrapped up into an album. I think it's kind of got sci-fi references. Yeah, so I absolutely loved it. And otherwise we'll carry on with Dark Horse Discs until this series closes. I am planning, I think this is the 6th episode. So we have at least 2 left that we're going to do before the end of the series. Obviously, one is Rocco's Choice, and the final one will be the Pop Queens episodes, the Dark Horse Discs. Other than that, don't have a huge amount planned. Obviously, got the end of year content coming up. got a review of the new Hatchie album, which I'm planning. I'm probably going to review new Xanius. These are non-metal albums. These are more indie albums. Those are two of my more anticipated releases. Still got to do the Testament review as well. That's another one I've got planned. Just a little bit late on Testament, but yeah, I think that's most of my content. Top 10 metalcore albums I'm going to try and do in November. So look out for that one in November. And that's The Green Man on Tom's Tomb of Horror. Just posted a short on Halloween 5. Whether or not you love or hate Halloween 5. I'd be interested in your guys' thoughts if you have any thoughts on Halloween 5. And planning a Halloween ranking probably the week after Halloween itself. So look out for that on Tom's Tomb of Horror. But otherwise, that finishes off this episode. Hope you guys have enjoyed it from me and all my guests. Until next time, bye for now.